Hi, Interior Design Show. I'm Charu. I'm an architect and interior designer. I'm the founder of Elicyon, a design studio. Welcome to our beautiful project in central London. Come on in. I'm going to show you around. Design vision for the project was capture a sense of classical sophistication. You'll see that reference throughout the project with the materials, the furniture pieces, the way the spaces come together. You get these beautiful windows straight onto the park. It's an exceptional view. This section of the kitchen is lowered because there's a mezzanine floor above us, double height space where you have a beautiful opportunity to play with scale and create a quite high impact dining space. So we're in central London in this beautiful lateral apartment. It's a project we finished about a year ago. It's 6,000 square feet of lateral space across 2 floors, but the bulk is on this floor that we're going to start with. Design vision for the project was capture a sense of classical sophistication, but then layer in a contemporary elegance. And you'll see that reference throughout the project with the materials, the furniture pieces, the way the spaces come together. One of the most impressive spaces on this floor is this beautiful formal living room. So I'm going to take you in there. What I love about this space is the length of it. And it's particularly special because it's on the first floor where traditionally in London, you get these incredible tall ceilings and then you get these beautiful windows straight onto the park. It's an exceptional view. Room itself is bookended by a fireplace at either end, and then you have these beautiful column features that sort of wrap the fireplace on each side. What I love about how we've designed this space is it's very light and bright, but we've brought in texture and detail and interest. One of the things that's very beautiful is the mix of different materials in the space on the paneling. So we've got a paint finish, we've got 2 different wallpapers with a beading detail, and then we have a metal trim. And so it's subtle, it's very tailored, it's very well finished, but it does bring a level of interest. Along the top, we've run a metal sort of hanging rail and picture light. And these are these lovely Collier web lights that are intended to light up art as the client collects pieces over time to sort of add another layer of life to this space. We have some really beautiful finishes in the mix here. At Elicyon, we don't sort of stick to a very limited palette, especially in a project where you have a larger space. So you have a mix of sort of warmer timber with the softer, more sort of minky colored timbers. These are 2 side tables by Davidson, which we had made with this lovely sort of starburst detail and really nice sort of angular edging to it. I think they sort of captured the 2 ends of the fireplace really nicely. They sort of set it together. Then moving into the space itself, because of the breadth of the space, we've created 2 seating arrangements. So you have 1 seating arrangement here, which we imagine to be more formal, focusing on the fireplace and more conversational space. The second space we imagine to be a little bit more relaxed, and actually a really standout feature is this incredible large artwork that actually conceals a 100-inch TV behind it. So there's some cool tech in this property, layered under the classical contemporary features. So as we move through this space, there is this lovely coffee table by Caracole. We intentionally made this quite slimline so you could move around this space. It wasn't sort of occupying too much of the center of the seating arrangement. It's all grounded by a very beautiful set of matching rugs by Holland Cassidy. The colors and the tones are quite contemporary, but this sort of braiding detail as a edge to the rug is more of a traditional feature. So it's sort of blending these 2 styles, and you'll see that consistently throughout the property. The other thing we enjoy doing actually is when we work with clients, sometimes they have pieces in the property that they want to retain. So the clients actually had lived here previously, and this was a refurbishment some years into their having lived here. And several of the table lamps were pieces that they already had. They wanted to retain them. We really enjoy that. I think it brings a nice depth to a project where you're holding on to pieces that have existed in the property, you're reusing them, reimagining them in a new way. They look completely different today to how they looked in the previous design of the space. Another technique that we deployed to create a sense of placemaking in these 2 seating arrangements is the way we've centered the two beautiful chandeliers. So the chandeliers are by Sansuchi. They have this wonderful sort of dance-like quality to them with these handmade glass pieces in an array of colors. So they're not very angular. They don't have a very linear quality. They have this sort of movement across the space. They really, in a way, occupy the volume of this incredible ceiling height. And we created one above this seating arrangement, and then you can see another one above the other seating arrangement. So they're lighting features, but they also play a very strong decorative element in this space. The space itself is very lightly dressed in terms of decorative accessories. Again, that's intentional. The idea is that as the client spends more time in this home, they'll place more objects. We like a very sort of curated approach to filling a space, so it's not overfilled, overcluttered, making reference to some of the things the client loves. She absolutely loves beautiful lalique pieces, which she had bought previously before we commenced on the project. So again, we've woven them into the design element. There are a lot of bespoke pieces here. So a lot of the upholstered pieces are bespoke. We designed them specifically for the space, specifically for the client's needs. And you can see a really interesting mix of textures and fabrics amongst the upholstery itself. There's a sort of neutral, light, soft base, but there's a lot of texture, there's a lot of depth in how we've brought the space together. In this sort of intermediary space, we have a beautiful high gloss dark timber table with some metal detailing. Again, it creates a bit of sense of space, but placemaking really between the two seating arrangements. And then coming into this space, we have these lovely Ralph Lauren armchairs. And then we have a really interesting, very organic Christopher Guy bench. I particularly like this piece because I think what it does is it brings in this really contemporary form where the other seating pieces are a little bit more classic in style. So it again sort of mixes it up a bit. It's not all one style. And I think paying sort of homage to the shape and form of this bench is this very beautiful bespoke coffee table that we created. This is probably one of my favorite pieces. I love the expansiveness of it. It's got this wonderful onyx top, and the onyx is particularly relevant. You'll see as we move through the property that the onyx comes up again and again. It's a material the client particularly loves. Unlike the other seating arrangement, this is quite an expansive coffee table. That's very intentional. The idea is that the family will probably hang out in this seating arrangement more, and so a large coffee table where they can place objects, have tea laid out, have books laid out is intentional. And then on the upholstered pieces, again, you'll see a mix of really interesting textures. The sofa has a more velvet kind of fabric. The armchairs are more of a textured material. And then we have really, sweet little elements like cushions with a lovely fringe detail, just bringing a bit of playfulness and a bit of movement into the space. This end of the room is a little bit different to the other end, very purposefully so. Rather than having two side tables, what we chose to do was create two pieces of fitted joinery recessed into the wall. And the intention here was really to celebrate the scale of this room. We have these incredible high ceilings and create a bit of point of interest at a height other than artwork. So you have these quite generously spaced shelves with a lovely detail to the front of this sort of ribbed metal finish. You have the LED lighting. And actually this piece of joinery is a really nice example of the multiple finishes that have an interplay in this space. This bespoke piece of art that we commissioned has actually been created within a frame that can move away and disappear into the space. So you're going to see that happen now. So the artwork moves back a bit and then recesses into the ceiling void. And voila, out comes a very large 100-inch TV. That was a specific request from the client that they wanted a TV in this space to be able to relax and watch, shows, but they also use it quite a lot as a piece of technology for meetings with international locations. So we built this wall out a bit to house the mechanism required for the TV to be able to recess back and the artwork to come down. It was something we pushed for quite a lot because I personally like the space a lot more with the artwork down. I don't like how TVs take over spaces, especially at this scale. But it gives both the client what they wanted in their brief, which was certain elements of technology, but also creates a beautifully decorated space. You'll see some other examples of this through the property as we move through it, where we've blended the technology, audiovisual request for the client, but try to create something that is also sympathetic to the design vision that we had in mind. So we're now moving from the large living room into the corridor that connects to the kitchen. There's another sort of section with a corridor, a beautiful powder room that I'm looking forward to showing you later. And this corridor, we introduced this paneling detail, which I really like. This was a plain white painted space. And the paneling creates a sort of momentum and a rhythm to the space, creates points of interest. I love this watercolor style wallpaper. It's a Fromenthal wallpaper called Travertine in a particular colorway that we chose. And it just brings this sort of painterly feel to the space. It brings a sort of softness and a movement, but then framed in these quite architectural paneling details. And this sort of element you'll see repeated throughout the property. A little sort of stopping moment in the corridor, a place to pause. There's another powder room to my right. So it's a sort of waiting area, you could say, in front of the powder room. And now we're in the kitchen space, where this section of the kitchen is lowered because there's a mezzanine floor above us, but then in front of me is this lovely double height space again, where you have a beautiful sort of opportunity to play with scale and create a quite high impact dining space. So we have a bespoke open plan kitchen with a really generous island. I really like this sort of ribbed timber detail that you can see at the end of the island. The color tone that we brought into the kitchen is really light and warm. And the main sort of material where we've showcased that is this vanilla onyx as a backsplash, a hardy material as a backsplash. So whenever you do use onyx in spaces where you need it to perform, it does need to be treated. And then this absolutely lovely bespoke cooker hob by Nicholas Anthony with this lovely natural design to it, which I think just brings a little bit of domesticity and a bit of softness to the space. You then have a Caesar stone countertop. Caesar stone is a really durable material as a kitchen countertop. It sort of replicates some of the qualities of stone visually, and it has this really nice sort of crystalline quality, the one we've chosen, but it's very, very durable. So we enjoy using Caesar stone as a countertop. Quite a generously spaced kitchen. And then here you can see that really sweet ribbed detail that I particularly like. And then we've got the metal sort of interspersing the timber work and a very generous countertop around the cooker hob. And I think the space works really well. It's got a nice scale to it. It's quite generous, but also feels quite intimate and quite domestic. Over the island itself, we have these Ralph Lauren lights. I like how they sort of feel quite lantern-like. They have a lovely sort of garden-like quality almost. And that's a little bit of a reference to the natural motif on the top here. So there's a sort of lots of visual connections that we're forming within the space. Coming into this open plan dining space, we wanted to ground the space with a rug. The rug is purposefully sort of chamfered at the corner, so it's not a very hard shape. It's a sort of rounded shape, but it does create a zoning for the dining table. It's a bespoke wool rug that we designed. Wool is actually a really good material to use under dining tables. It's more durable than other blends. And then you can see in the color tones, we're bringing in this green color tone, a sort of celadon, sort of ferny green color. But there's this chocolatey brown border, and the chocolate brown border is a reference to the walnut timber floor in the reception area. We think it's successful across in larger properties in particular, where you make little references in tone and materiality that connect spaces. So the bar stools already start to bring in the green, and then the rug reinforces it. And then that green tone is really sort of enhanced in this wallpaper that we commissioned. It's got a lovely chinoiserie design, that natural element that you saw in the cooker hob, and you've got this beautiful sort of delicate pattern behind it. This too hides a TV. So like I mentioned, there's a consistent theme where the client enjoys watching TV and uses a TV indeed for meetings and wanted that ability across the property. Dining table itself is bespoke. It's by a company called Ateliers London, and the top of it is a material called Hanex. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Hanex is a man-made, like a resin, very durable. So again, a great surface to use for dining tables that are going to have a thorough use. One of the things we do like to do is, you're creating a home that looks beautiful, but we do think about durability quite a lot. And we know that the family enjoys gathering in this space. They don't want to be worried about the table getting damaged. So the Hanex works really well as a material for them. And then a little moment for the beautiful curtains. So that green grounding that we wanted to create. I love this detail where the bulk of the curtain is in this warm ivory neutral. It's a silk wool blend fabric that hangs really beautifully. But then we've created a very large border in picking up that ferny celadon green and these very, very pretty curtain tiebacks from Samuel & Sons that I think they're a really good example of that classic contemporary coming together. It's quite classic to have curtain tiebacks, but in this ivory tone with the very tailored detail, I feel it brings a bit of a contemporary element at the same time. The volume of this dining room has a really lovely interplay with the mezzanine that comes off it. So in the space above, we've created a study area with a bank of joinery and a fitted desk, these lovely little sort of lantern-like lights. And it creates a really nice space where the family can be on the laptop using a computer, while some of them could be down here eating, cooking. It's a sort of relaxed, informal study space. We personally love creating spaces with multiple functionality. You want to use the volume, you want to use the space, you want to give the clients lots of different ways in which they can utilize their home. So I think this particular portion of the project works particularly well. Coming back out from the kitchen and dining space, we're now back in the corridor. There's a very functional utility room in here for laundry and storing sort of household supplies. And I'm going to take you into one of the two powder rooms and tell you a bit about this space. This powder room is a bit of a jewel box. You'll remember I talked a bit about connecting spaces. So here we've connected the space with the corridor by bringing that travertine style silk wallpaper from Fromenthal into the space, where we've chosen a much deeper, more intense blue colorway. And then we framed that with the paneling with a sort of mid to high gloss lacquer framing with that metal trim coming through. And then there are a few things in here that I really love. So I love that the onyx comes through with the vanity unit. And then how beautiful is this specialist finish to the drawers. And then it's finished off with these lovely little joinery handles. And because it's quite a small vanity, we didn't want to crowd it with countertop lighting. And we didn't want to disturb this wallpaper with mounting lights on the wall. So we have these lovely hanging lights with the ribbed glass. And then that detail from the drawers carries around the mirror, framing it. And it all feels quite sort of sumptuous and jewel-like in this tiny powder room. I think powder rooms are a really fun opportunity to do something a little bit more playful, layering in some really interesting materials, maybe a bit more of glossy textures. It's something we enjoy doing quite a lot at Elicyon. While we're talking about powder rooms, I'm going to show you the second powder room, which is quite a different style and a colorway. I love that one too. So the two powder rooms are amongst my favorite spaces. So here, this powder room has a sort of ante-room, a closet area. So it's a coat cupboard really for the property. I guess being maybe a bit cliche, this powder room's got a more feminine feel to it. The other one in the blue was a more traditionally masculine feel. Here we have a beautiful set of doors where what we've done is we've created quite a lot of detail. So you have a wallpaper backing over which you have this metal lattice. You then have this beading detail framing the joinery, and you then have the lacquered joinery frame. And the sort of intermediate panels between the top and the bottom panel are in a fabric wallpaper, but without the lattice. And so just this little space has quite a lot of interest and detail in it, which I really enjoy. We come through into the powder room itself. And you'll remember I talked about the onyx and the quartz finishes. So here you have a rose tone. We had to sort of consider how to handle that. There was a window here that the family wanted to be able to access to open for ventilation. So I think what we've done here is quite clever. We've created sort of two pivoting mirror planes and brought in this really lovely curved sort of Art Deco detail to the mirror framing. And these can actually be turned and moved to set them at different angles. You then have beautiful rose gold finishes on the sanitary ware, and you have these wonderful lalique taps, which are so luxe and decadent. And the whole space feels very considered, feels very sumptuous. Again, like I mentioned before, a powder room is a small space, but it's a space your guests will visit. It's an opportunity to showcase design. And I think in this small room, we've created quite a lot of impact. So let's go take a look at the master bedroom. We're walking through sort of one stopping moment in the hallway, but I'll talk to you about it when we're on our way upstairs. So we're now heading into the master bedroom suite. So you have this sort of entrance zone to it, which is a corridor space. Here we've created a sort of desk dressing room area. We've got two sets of walk-in wardrobes for the client. Unfortunately, won't be able to show those because they're private spaces. And then you're walking past this master bathroom, which is beautifully appointed. So the master bathroom has this incredible onyx material that sort of wraps the bulk of the bathroom. So you have it on the floor, you have it as a backlit element in the shower. I wasn't joking about the technology. So we have TVs in the shower. So you can see a TV above that lit niche in the shower so the client can watch TV at any time. And then in this very opulent master bathroom, we have a very beautiful ombre silk wallpaper. And what we've done here that's quite interesting is this ombre wallpaper has a beautiful motif on it. We didn't want to carry that on throughout the bathroom where there is wallpaper. We felt that was too much. We wanted to have a sort of feature element. So the other sides of the ombre wallpaper are plain. They don't have the decorative motif, but the ombre carries on. I love the mix of this sort of warm lavender tone with the ombre finish and how it interacts with the greeny tone of the onyx. I think it creates a really interesting color palette. And then added to that, you have the rose gold sanitary ware finishes. I think it's got lots of depth and elegance to it, but it's also quite playful. It's quite fun. It's not sort of colors you'd expect to see come together. And heading into the master bedroom now, we've got a fitted carpet that we again commissioned bespoke. You are looking onto this really fantastic double height space in the master bedroom. The way the mezzanine interacts with the space created a sort of challenge that we needed to counter. So what we've done is we've carried the paneling on the entire width of the wall so that the master bedroom headboard wasn't compromised and didn't feel cramped. We decided that we were going to treat the length of this wall as one space. So you then have your two very large bedside tables. That's another thing I like doing, trying to make bedside tables as generous as you can. I think it feels very luxe to have a very wide, large size bedside table. And then you have your upholstered headboard, above which you have this antique mirror specialist finish with the painted motif. It's quite soft, but it creates an element of interest. And it goes to the full height of the room. And then you have this starburst paneling, which sits here, shortened by the mezzanine above. But if I move over to the other side of the bed, you'll see that we've taken the starburst panel all the way up in a set of two panels up to the full height of the room. Creates a very soft space, but at the same time, it feels quite grand, it feels quite substantial, and I think it works really well. Symmetry is an interesting and important part of our work. Making reference to that symmetry, where we have the antique mirror finish above the headboard, this is sort of gold leaf finish. And the interesting thing with the gold leaf finish, it has sort of references to how the antique mirror comes across. This is a wallpaper finish, which has the same motif replicated on it as the antique mirror on the other side of the room. And surprise, surprise, this hides another TV. I'm not going to bore you by showing you another TV mechanism, but trust me, there's another large TV hidden behind. And in this instance, it's framed by some degree of joinery detailing and two very beautiful baccarat wall-mounted lights that create a focal element on either side of the TV. To finish off the master bedroom is this mezzanine area. Why don't you guys come upstairs so I can show it to you? So we utilized this mezzanine area to create some more wardrobe space for the master bedroom. It's a very clean finish. It's a sort of mid-gloss lacquer in this soft nude color. And there's a full expanse of wardrobes. You'll remember I talked about that starburst finish that we had at the lower level on either side of the headboard. And so we then carry that on up so that it matches the starburst on the other side of the headboard on the full height of the room. But a really functional space, very handy. You know, who wouldn't want a lovely dressing room in a double height mezzanine in their master bedroom? So in this lobby area, actually one of my favorite elements is the floor. This is where you get to see the expanse of this beautiful marble floor. So we have a Tarsos floor in the central portion, and then it's framed by an Emperador marble framing. Something we enjoy doing a lot with the floor is bringing different materials and elements together, so it almost feels like something that is a point of interest rather than something that's just in the background. This lobby is sort of grounded by this beautiful high gloss black lacquer piano. You have this chandelier element hanging in the double height space. And then I'm going to take you up the stairs and talk to you a bit more about some of the materials here. The staircase itself has this quite architectural balustrade with some interesting sort of Art Deco reference elements. On the floor of the stair, we've carried the Tarsos up the stairs, so there's a nice continuum of materiality. We've got the silk wallpaper paneling carrying on, but here we've moved away from that travertine watercolor finish and we've chosen a more lustrous, silky panel finish, which we felt celebrated the height of the space more rather than carrying on the horizontality of the travertine. And then we have a mirror finish, which is like a piece of art, or is indeed a piece of art. I often say craft and art are very much the same thing. This is by a company called DKT, and you have this beautiful tinted mirror with a natural motif going through it. We very purposefully broke the mirror up into sections, so you bring this metal stud detailing. This was a little reference to some of the Art Deco features that you might have noticed in the property. It was bringing in some of those decorative elements, so we didn't have a flat finish. And then this link detail stair runner takes us up to the next floor. There are 3 bedrooms on this floor, and I'm going to take you into the first one. Come with me. This room doesn't have very high ceiling heights and is quite a sort of contained space. We felt the best design response here was to create something very tailored, very fitted. It's almost got a yacht-like quality, which I quite like. It's quite different to the sort of airy expansiveness of the rooms downstairs. So we wanted to play up that contrast. So unlike some of the other rooms you've seen downstairs, which were very bright, very light in their color tone, here we've lent into a darker tone. And I particularly love how this headboard works. So you have wardrobes on each side of the headboard, and then this really lovely curved detail to the joinery that I think creates this really nice cocooning effect. Very intentional textured fabric wallpaper, and then the headboard section in itself is an intermingling of 2 different shades of leather. Very sort of tailored, quite masculine, I'd say. We imagine that the client's older son will probably use this room when they are in residence at the property. Another favorite trick of mine in spaces where the bedside table can't be very large, because I like very large bedside tables, you'll remember, is to have hanging bedside lamps so that they don't occupy any of the table surface. So these are 2 really smart hanging lamps by Chesham, and I think they create, again, a nice sort of reference to that tailored masculine feel. And then, surprise, surprise, at the end of the bed, we have a pop-up TV. Again, the client wanted to incorporate a large TV in this room, but we didn't want to put a TV that blocked out the window. We didn't want to orientate the room differently. We have preserved this window by not putting a TV in front of it. We have created a frosted finish on it because it looks into sort of large light well, but it's not the most attractive view. And this desk got that sort of tailored yacht-like feel to it. You've got a timber border and framing, and then a very lovely sort of very chocolatey brown inset leather to it. The finish on the armchair or the desk chair is the same fabric as the headboard and makes a really nice connection within the space. And I love the texture and color tone of this. And then this joinery piece is actually one of my favorite features in this room. I like the gray finish of the timber with a light gloss to it. And I really like how we've sort of curved the edges and the corners. You have this very nice soft gray silk wallpaper that wraps around the room where we don't have some of the specialist finishes. This leads us to a bank of wardrobes. Here you see the gray timber more accentuated, and that curved detail that we talked about in the joinery comes back in these vertical elements that frame the handles. And so you have a lovely bank of storage, and then you do have those two mirrored cupboards on either side of the headboard as well. Ensuite bathroom of the bedroom has a very tailored, clean finish to it. So we have this white marble with gray specks, slightly bluey tinge, so it connects back to the tonality of the bedroom itself. Very clean lined. We do have some of those beautiful specialist finishes coming through in elements such as lights that frame the mirror. And then here we have a sort of gold sanitary ware reference rather than the rose gold that you saw downstairs. And overall, it's a functional bathroom. It's spacious. It's got a lovely walk-in shower, but we've not got too many materials. We wanted to keep this quite clean, quite masculine, tailored, and almost as a bit of a contrast to the bedroom itself, which you saw has a lot of geometry, texture, and finish to it. So it acts as a nice interplay between the two spaces. Let's walk around the corridor for the bedrooms on this upper floor. So in this corridor, we have that paneling that we had downstairs, but here we don't have the travertine wallpaper. The ceiling height's lower, it felt too dense, it felt like too much impact, too much noise. So here we have a softer wallpaper. This wallpaper is used downstairs in the intermediate panels, and then we chose that wallpaper here to be the primary finish. I think it works well. It's softer, it creates a slower movement through this corridor. Going into the second bedroom on this floor, this room has a very soft, very gentle color tone, which I really like. It's this sort of dusty pink. It's not a very big room, as you can see. What we wanted to do was give enough storage, but also an opportunity for some sort of bedside table. We have created wardrobe storage and then created these niches into it that act as the bedside tables on either side. I think they work well, particularly because we've lit them with an LED detail, so they create a bit of a feature. It's not a sort of dark, cavernous hole. You have this very nice boucle, very soft fabric as your headboard material, and then above have lovely cashmere velvet fabric that frames the headboard. One of the things that I enjoy about what we've chosen in this space is this albi veneer. It's got a very soft tone to it. It's almost sort of pinkish in its nature. And I think it creates a really nice framing element for the joinery pieces. Bringing a bit of movement into the space, the wallpaper paneling set on the wardrobe pieces, that has a bit more decorative finish to it. Again, in these very soft tones. It's another wallpaper by Fromenthal. And I like how it adds a bit of movement and a little bit of dynamism into this space that's quite sort of tight and tailored. Some fun elements, sweet little cushions with a fringe detail and then a textured cushion behind. I really like when cushions have a bit of texture and feel to them. I think they're so tactile. It's the one thing you end up touching in your space. This room also has a TV, but we haven't created any funky technology for it. It's a simple frame TV. We didn't want to use up more space with TV technology because while that looks very slick, it always comes with quite a lot of mechanism that takes up space. So in the smaller rooms, it's something that we left out. Let's head into the last bedroom on this upper floor. As we head into this bedroom, we do pass the bathroom that is the bathroom for that smaller dust-keeping bedroom we just saw. But I'm going to focus on showing you this last bedroom. This bedroom has a more lavendery dust-keeping theme to it. We have a similar technique here where we frame the bed with joinery elements. So you have the cupboards, and then you have the inset bedside tables. You have a really interesting headboard here. You have a mix of different materials interspersed with metal detailing. And then a big feature in this room is the beautiful wallpaper on the cupboards. It's got this sort of silvery tone. We're repeating that sort of reference to natural Eglomese style motifs, but it's got its own tonality. Here we've taken a more linear approach with the detailing, so we're not bringing in those rounded corners. We have more orthogonal shapes, and it leads into this really sweet dressing area. I think it's very beautiful. You'll remember in the pink powder room downstairs, we had these Art Deco style mirrors. So this mirror has a similar concept. It's on a pivot, so it can be moved to suit the user. This bedroom is framed on the floor by a fitted carpet, which has a lovely border detail that we had made bespoke. You have a TV sitting on the wall that's not concealed in this instance, and then it leads you into the ensuite bathroom. It's not an onyx in this instance, it's a rose-toned stone. We didn't want this bathroom to be too pink, so we wanted the white element, but a plain white bathroom would have felt too much of a contrast to the room itself. So I think it works really well. It's architectural in its detailing, but you're bringing in that softer pink finish. And then you have these lovely curved wall lights on either side of the mirror above the vanity. Thanks, Luxury Home Show. I hope you've enjoyed the tour. I know I've had a great time showing you around. If you'd like to know more about Elicyon, there's details just below this video. And I hope you've enjoyed it and look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Thanks.
Welcome, Luxury Home Show. I'm Karen Howes.
And I'm Jane Landino.
And we're from Taylor House Designs. And we're super excited to show you our new project in Knightsbridge. Come on in.